The challenges faced by Muslim migrants in Western countries, especially those fleeing conflict zones where Western foreign policy may have been a contributing factor, are immense and often layered. Here is a breakdown of the key challenges these migrants face, framed within the context you described. 1. Social and cultural challenges. Prejudice and Islamophobia. This is the most direct challenge. Migrants often face suspicion, stereotyping, and hostility fueled by the narrative that they are a security threat or culturally incompatible. This can range from daily microaggressions to overt violence and hate crimes. Othering and identity crisis. They are frequently portrayed as a monolithic group. Their individual identities are raised in favor of a single label, Muslim. This leads to an identity crisis, especially for the second generation, who are caught between their parents' culture and the culture of their new country, while being told they don't fully belong to either. Clash of values and misrepresentation. Certain cultural practices, e.g., conservative dress codes, gender roles, are often sensationalized and presented as representative of all Muslims. This creates a perception of insurmountable difference and fuels the argument that they cannot integrate. Their own progressive or moderate views are often silenced by the loudest, most extreme voices on both sides. 2. Political and legal challenges. Scapegoating by populist politicians. As you noted, migrants become pawns in political games. They are blamed for economic woes, straining social services, and undermining national culture. This rhetoric directly translates into policy proposals for immigration bans, stricter asylum laws, and surveillance, creating a hostile legal environment. Securitization and surveillance. There is a prevailing policy of treating Muslim communities as potential security threats. This leads to increased surveillance, profiling at airports, and a general sense of being constantly watched and distrusted by state authorities, which erodes any sense of safety and belonging. The hypocrisy narrative. Many migrants are acutely aware that the instability they fled, e.g., in Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, was exacerbated by Western military intervention or political meddling. The contrast between being labeled a threat and having fled a threat created by the very same nations is a source of deep psychological and moral distress. 3. Economic and practical challenges. Professional de-skilling. Many migrants who were doctors, engineers, or teachers in their home countries find their qualifications are not recognized. They are forced into low-paying, unskilled jobs, leading to poverty and frustration. Ghettoization and poor housing. Due to economic constraints and social exclusion, many migrant communities become concentrated in specific, often impoverished, urban areas. This limits their exposure to the broader society and can perpetuate cycles of poverty and limited opportunity. Access to services. Language barriers and the lack of cultural competence in social services can prevent migrants from accessing crucial support for healthcare, legal aid, and mental health. 4. Psychological and emotional challenges. Trauma and untreated mental health. Many are survivors of war, torture, and the trauma of displacement. They carry this heavy psychological burden into a new environment that is often unsympathetic and ill-equipped to provide culturally sensitive mental health care. The burden of representation. Individual Muslims often feel the pressure to constantly condemn terrorism or act as model minorities to prove their community's worth. This is an unfair and exhausting burden not placed on other groups. Cognitive dissonance and alienation. They have to reconcile the idealized image of the West as a land of freedom and human rights with their daily experience of discrimination and political demonization. This can lead to profound alienation and disillusionment. The core irony and the path forward. The core challenge is the fundamental irony. They are often fleeing violence and instability that has a direct or indirect link to Western foreign policy, only to be met in the West with hostility fueled by the consequences of that very instability. Addressing this requires a multi-pronged approach. For host societies, moving beyond securitization and stereotypes to foster genuine integration policies, language classes, qualification recognition, and interfaith, cultural dialogues that humanize migrants. For political leaders, a moral responsibility to move beyond divisive propaganda and acknowledge the complex, interconnected global history that creates refugee flows. For Muslim communities, the ongoing, difficult work of challenging extremist ideologies from within while building bridges with the wider society. In conclusion, the challenge for these Muslim migrants is not merely one of finding a new home, but of navigating a world where they are simultaneously victims of geopolitical turmoil, subjects of political propaganda, and suspects in their supposed place of refuge. Their struggle is a stark reflection of the unresolved contradictions of our interconnected world.